this, I think it was May. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
you reached out, you were traveling to Maine for something, and I was like, oh boy, here we go. It's happening. And we met up for coffee, and I kind of laid, I was like, I don't know what this looks like, but I've had this may sound weird, but you'll get it because you understand. I've had this vision that you're supposed to come, work with us and be involved in a leadership capacity in the company. And you were like, okay, cool, let's go.
Yeah, it doesn't take a lot for me, but like it was a no-brainer. For those that haven't been following you or been in contact with you for as long as I have and some of the other members in the group, like it's just been awesome to see the inflection points for you, what you've gone through, where your growths have
Mm,
happened and like what each springboarded into the next were for you and just how much you're leaning into it and how much you've always given but where the place that where you're giving it from seems to be what resonates the most for me and all the
yeah.
others. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, I love you. I appreciate that. It's I think for all of us, and part of what we're talking about here with turning your annual income into your monthly income, it really is about being available to be a channel for the way that I see it. And I think everyone, you can use your own language, have your own words, but I see my life and my work and what I always want to be is a channel for God, for spirit, for source to flow through. And to kind of basically like we get to get out of our own way with that. And when you do that and when you allow that, it's amazing just the synchronicities, the people, the connections, the opportunity. And so when you and I reconnected earlier this summer, I was like, I know this is coming. I know it's happening. I don't know exactly what it looks like. And you, to your credit, you were so open and in faith. You were like, cool, let me know, let me know it's time. And when we launched the men's mastermind in October, you started leading and teaching this group and teaching these principles. And so I had the privilege of sitting in on one of the calls and seeing just how you are working with men on their feeling state too, and connecting with that. But what I think is powerful about masculine and feminine energy, and that's what we teach a method called the 4 quadrants of quantum sales growth, and that is one of them, is when we learn how to tap into both masculine and feminine. We all have both. It's not about your gender, but we learn how to tap into and leverage both. That's when we quantum leap. That's when we ascend. So maybe you can speak to even just a little bit in your own life, like making that shift from having been all in the masculine or really heavy in the masculine, and what it looked like for you to learn to tap more into feminine, how you do that now as well, and like how you do that with your clients and the people you coach in our community. Because I think that that's a big shift, because so many of the members I see of our community, women included, and often primarily, have been so in our masculine of just the doing, the pushing, the forcing, and that's not quantum leap energy. So what would you say to that?
I think to your point earlier talking about your own story, we especially as men and obviously this is patriarchy, let's smash it later, we're just going to talk about where we're at right now with it is we it's all this doing, all this activity, you're not, if you're not producing, then what are you doing, right? Like and then like putting all this energy into it. And that's when you met me was I was doing just that. I was doing, like you said, all the right things, checking the boxes and coaching little league, taking my kids to do this, to do that. And, doing all the right things, having conversations, lunches, dinners, whatever. And, working too many hours in a day and trying to achieve a certain level. I mean, when we connected, I was being rejected for sales calls by as a salesperson, and I was like, well, I'm going to hire a sales coach then because that'll help me to get through the hump, right? So I was not allowing myself to even just kind of give myself permission to believe that it was possible for me without even more training and without all this other stuff. And so doing all of that and just grinding it like it was a grind, right? Grinding it
Mm,
out. Like how tired and how burnt out, how irritable, how awesome was I to be around in that energy? Not at all,
yeah.
right? And it was a place of like almost desperation too. Like if I wasn't achieving this thing with all the effort, then and am I a failure? Am I a lost cause? Like, what did I even show up for? Right. Um, and so through all that and doing all that for, I mean, I only put a couple years into it, right? Honestly, God, guys, and ladies and gentlemen, I got into a certain point of success pretty effortlessly, I would say. But then I was like, maybe I should actually try to do something with life. Right? Like, wouldn't it be cool if I was like, I got here without putting effort in. What would it look like if I tried? Like, what would happen if, like you're talking about, what would happen if, like, okay, I've done what everybody told me I should be doing, which is great. And here I am. This is cool. But what am I really here for? Right. And
Mm,
that's really what I leaned into. And I picked up a lot of that, again, with the work that we did together. But I still grinded like so much, right? And
yeah.
then at a certain point, I was like, if it's like meant for me, it'll show up. And is it really like I spent like, probably a couple years making, this six-figure salary, which was, hey, nothing to laugh at, right? Happy to have it. I'll keep getting paid like that. Cool. But like, was it really worth my life at that point? And that's really what I was
Mm,
exchanging. I was exchanging my life for XYZ dollars. And my family was being sacrificed for it. My life was literally I was paying my life for this. So I was
mm,
like, I'm out. I'm not gonna keep doing all this, putting myself out there, grinding away in this constant doing. And I shit you not, pardon my French, but like, within weeks, within a month, like I get this call asking me if I want to be on the account manager team, if I wanted to like double my salary, if I wanted to do all these things. I was like, what? Stop it. I was so it was actually like it's kind of like one of those things like we talk about like I was waiting for it, but I couldn't like
mm,
time it, right? It's a little bit
mm,
like double dutch for the first couple times you do it. Like, all right, get tripped up in the double dutch jump rope. But like, eventually like there I am, I'm here, I'm in it. I'm like, I knew it was possible and I knew it could be effortless, but like that, is this real?
mm,
And then, kind of lean into it. And again, this was all done through like we talked about, I still remember calling Elyse and being like, Elyse, I had the spiritual awakening. And you're like, tell me more about this. Right. Like, so this was all part of this journey that you're going through, weaving in and out. And then having it happen, listen, not for nothing. There was evidence of things along the way. Right. I know you talk about that. There was evidence of things along the way. We talk about that. But then having it happen and I'll always remember too, even just getting into this work and doing it. Um, I still remember my grandfather talking to me down by the garage, fire door, gray steel garage fire door, and him just being like, the greatest investment you can make is like in yourself. And
mm,
so I went to some college, did some school, and kind of didn't really think too much about it. But as I reflect, there are definitely two parts to this that I'll share. The first investment that I made in myself was actually prior to the coaching. Um, but it wasn't just that I'd made an investment in myself, and I think that this is a nuance that we may not hit on. It's I invested in myself with like my own idea, with something that was in alignment with who I was, right? I mean, that was like a 20x return on investment, like a 60K return on investment, right? Like what,
mm,
I think anybody who does any investing would take that, right? And the next was with the coaching, right? I saw another, we'll call it like a 100K return on that,
mm,
right? But it was if I hadn't have done it, it wouldn't have happened. And I still remember the fear. I still remember, my wife's name is Meg, right? I still remember talking with Meg about wanting to invest in this coaching package and how much it was, like how much money it was, right? It was a big number for us then. And I mean, it still seems like a big number here and there. Um, all relative, right? Uh, and we were both just kind of like, let's sleep on it, right? Me, I'm like, let's go, right? But I'm married with children, and it's the right thing to do, right? Have that conversation. Um, but the thought and the feeling was like, it was so strong. I was so drawn to do it. It was like, if I don't do this, am I gonna have the biggest life regret, right? Am I
Mm,
living my potential? Am I stepping into who I'm supposed to be? Am I gonna be like, I've never been happy to play small, right?
yeah.
Am I gonna be happy to go down as like not even a footnote in my
Mm,
own life, right? Like, no, I'm absolutely not. Like, my heart was literally tearing at that point. Like, it just like, do I make this? Do I do the investment with or without her? Eventually, Meg blessed it, and she realized too that like this was like, power of a solid supporting partner, right? Uh, and it's just paid off so much, and it's like, at least you keep talking about, it's who I've become and allowing, right? Like, how much I was not very good at receiving, right?
mm,
Not very good at allowing, and just allowing for energy and things to show up in my life and receiving them, right? It was all this
yeah.
mail do, getting in my own goddamn way, and all I had to do was sit back, relax, and receive the gifts that life has to offer.
Mm,
Hopefully that helps. And how do I share it with how do I coach like others through it? It's like, asking them kind of where they are, right? Look, I think one of the toughest things for, and I can't say like those who have ascended, right? One of the toughest things, though, once you reach to get to a certain point, like, and I still like this happened like immediately, like the awakening piece is like, I've got to go tell people how to do it. This is how you do it. This is what you do, right? Like when like, we want to shout from the top of the world, like, I've broken the code. I've come through. I've shattered this broken glass here. Like, this is all my doing, right? I've gotten to this place, but like, where are they right now, right? Like, we've got to remember where we were before then, and we can't come at them from where we are. And we can certainly share where we are now, but we got to remember, like, before we get to this place, I will always tell people, like, I was the last person to. I was talking on a call yesterday. I'll be the last person 10 years ago to be like, well, we got to come from a place of love. Right? I mean, sorry guys, I know. Last person. Last person to be like, get into your feminine. Last person to be like, all right, listen, what you got to do is connect with divinity. Don't know what that means for you, but we got to do it. Right? And challenging, what your past beliefs have been, and literally just being like, I think, yeah, I can't, Lisa, it might have been you. It's just like letting go of your past stories, right? Letting go of things that no
mm,
longer serve you, right? Like, I mean, we got to find out what you feel like is serving you, what has served you up to this point, and ditch it.
yeah.
Right. All right.
Mm.
I'll
Oh
let
my
go.
gosh.
Let
I
it
love
go.
it. Yeah. I love it so much. What are what are some of the ways that you do connect more with the feminine in
Mm.
your business and in your sales? Like what would you say to someone who's maybe way in masculine grind energy right now?
Um.
Start to shift out of that.
Yeah. I'd say like you kind of let go a little bit, right? We are a lot of us. We feel like if we're not in control and commanding it to happen and have our fingerprints all over it the entire way,
Mm,
that we didn't do it, right? It's not ours, and then like, I didn't make it happen. But what happens if it just happens for you,
yeah.
right? Like, how like, I mean, it's really, I mean, and it can be a challenge because we don't want to go to our supervisor and they're like, well, how did that happen for you? Like, well, I don't, it just happened, right? You still have to, there is still work involved, right? Like, we're going to talk in your group, and there's methodologies, there's scale, there's tactics, and there's all the stuff that you do, but it's how we do it from this place of being of service, right? Instead of, I think for me, again, feminine energy is more about nurturing and being of service and being there. Whereas, and just my own personal male experience has been like, give me, I gotta get it, right? That's
Mm,
mine, right? Like, how about like, what could possibly happen if we did this together as a group? Is like, and we all we all appreciate and come from a place of love and nurturing in and of itself, and allowing again that
Mm,
space, right?
yeah.
Gestation period, I know, is a big one that we talk about, that is again more from the feminine energy, right? Of like, let's plant the seeds, let's nurture it, let's allow for it to gestate, and we can give birth to this new idea together, and from a collaborative space, right? To me, that's more of a feminine space.
I love that. Well, and I think you spoke to it beautifully. So you talked about surrender, right? And when you surrendered a bit, that was when the opportunity came in to double your income. And surrender is actually feminine energy. So Joe Dispenza talks about this. He talks about creation is this blend, this dance between intention and surrender. And so it's a both and. And so just looking at this is something I was even thinking about today, is like, how can I bring more intention into everything I'm doing? Like, even when I'm picking up the kids from school at the end of the day, and sometimes it can just be autopilot mode where you're not thinking about it too much. But I was like, what would it be like to plan a really, this is going to sound like a silly little example, but it's what I was thinking about, to plan like a really fun snack for them, like to be very intentional about that now, of like, what would it be like to make like the best snack for them when they come home, and to be intentional about what we're going to do together before dinner, and to plan out an art project. I mean, they're 4 and almost 2. So we're doing things at a simple level right now. But instead of just being on autopilot with it, like, what would it be like to bring more intention? You do this in your business as well. And yet, and simultaneously, there's this element of surrender, which is the feminine, right? Which is such a beautiful blend. And when we do that, I know when we are in control, when we're feeling like we have to control the whole thing, that is a small part of us. That is a smaller part of us that is scared, that is nervous, that doesn't trust. And the more you can surrender into your greatness, the more you can surrender into allowing more and receiving more, and let it be a co-creation where you remember that you're guiding and directing source energy by what your intention is, and by what your thoughts are, what your energy is, what your feeling is, and then simultaneously being open for the miraculous to show up, being open for the synchronicities to show up, being open for the money to come in an unexpected way. A lot of times I'll hear clients say, like, I can't pay for this because I can't see how that's going to come in through my business yet, or I can't see how that's in the pipeline. I can't see how that's there. I haven't observed it in my bank account, right? They don't say that. They say I don't have the money, but I'm like, you haven't observed it yet in the, in the bank account. Doesn't mean it's not there. Um, when we think that we have to control the whole process, and we're not open to the synchronicities that come when you co-create, and when you remember that whatever that vision is that you have, it's already done. It's already done. Now it's about receiving it. Now it's about stepping into gratitude for it. What energy would you be in with your vision for 2025 if you knew that it was a done deal? How excited would you be? What would you be planning for? Right? What furniture would you be buying for the new home? What investments would you be making in your business? So that's the energy that creates, right? So I just wanted to kind of riff off of that a little bit, because to me, learning to tap into both masculine and feminine, it is about that blend of intention and surrender. And I think what I love about the work that you're doing and leading in the community, and your contribution to the leadership team, and then also you leading the men's mastermind, is helping others tap into that and connect with that. And it's a really beautiful blend. So yeah, thank you for sharing that.
Absolutely.